Dear Uncle Jemsy, how is everyone there? How is Earth? I know you've been there for years now, but I still love to hear. My grades are still strong, and my humanity class makes me even more eager. I know it must sometimes feel like you're living on the frontier, but now I know Earth can't be that bad. Primitive technology and primitive culture are definitely two different things. I'm dying to see the Japan sector, and I can hardly wait to get there. Speaking of which, silk sales are really taking off. I am enclosing a credit transfer for the entire amount you bankrolled me for, plus enough for twice the original amount. I would have sent you everything, but you know how my mothers are. She wants me to set aside a good profit in case this is just a fad, but I think the more we sell now, the better a chance to establish a market. Ah well, you know her. She's still telling that story about Grandmother Jealousy airdropping Lyspovich at the promotional. I mean, okay, she should have known they couldn't fly, but it's time for a different story. There are a lot of reasons I needed to write, but let me finish telling you about business first. The professor who teaches with my human professor, Professor Warwick, is named Professor Pelavon. We had our student show right before break. That's a long story for some day, because of some stuff. Anyway, Professor Pelavon really caused a stir. I thought my dress was going to get attention, but she wore something called a komonyo from Japan sector. It was amazing, and requests are pouring in. She said the sector minister of culture is interested in promoting trade. Please put out some feelers. I don't want anyone to grab this up, because right now we could probably sell komonyo for their weight in credit notes. Big ones. I expect the news from Shill has already reached you, and everyone is concerned about Princess Satora. What is still just coming out is what happened during our show. An admiral actually tried to kill my human professor and some of my friends, before he killed her with an antique from the museum. It's not big news compared to the princess, but all the parents are pretty upset about it. Dad got pretty worked up about it when he heard, and I was halfway across the campus when it happened. I hope the calendar idea is going well, because we're trying to figure out a new fundraiser. It's for a good cause, since my professors have decided to get married. I think it's wonderful, but another long story there. My other news is pretty important. Some unusual things are happening here, even more than the Admiral going crazy, and I'm sending you an encrypted attachment that will explain everything. They tell me you'll be getting a hard copy of the password when this arrives. I know we don't talk about the painters and that stuff, but I think in the long term, this stuff and that stuff need to be looked at as the same stuff. I know I am rambling, but I can't talk about it here, and I hope the attachment will answer all your questions. You told me you know the painters, and I hope they will be excited. Much love, Jaxme. P.S. Have you heard about chocolate? Find a chink in someone's vanity, then rattle them, and you hold the strings you can control them with. Hidden away in the small room behind her bookcase, Kadira Sariva sat her Omnipad down to be cleaned and reset for the day, and reflected on the latest security messages from the Academy. Those had grown thin, even with her standing as a leader in family support. Access to the security reports concerning Princess Kalira was growing sparse. Agent Davari had increasingly begun coding things directly to the Home Office and the Minister as need to know. It showed a definite lack of trust in the interior and Davari's fellow agents. It was almost a shame that Lamana Davari was her competition. There might have been hope for the woman yet. Kadira smiled slightly. The notion of a free-part poison was inspired, particularly since they didn't exist. Princess Kamorji would be unhappy about Arali Teja's failure, and that unhappiness would have to be directed into something useful, and safely away from herself. If that didn't work, well, the effort with the Serhart girl, working at a free-part poison, the idea would take Kamorji's fancy. It would also keep Kamorji off her back, since the other two components couldn't be revealed, for deniability. Either out of pleasure or necessity, Camordri would benefit from the gentle reminder that she needed Kadira. Even if Camordri was woefully ignorant of freeway poisons, there certainly were two-part concoctions that would kill with perfect efficacy. The benefits were manifold. She refused to hurt children, but Camordri didn't have to know that. In the meantime, if Desala Serhart could be bent into an unwitting accomplice, she would become a new source of intelligence on her classmates. On Kalira. It was regrettable to have to put the young woman through such an ordeal, but it had become a necessity. This was a matter of power. It wasn't personal. Kadira shut down the desk Omni with a small grimace of distaste. She'd come to like her small room as something entirely her own in the bustle of the palace. Her apartment was part of her work. The little chamber hidden behind the partition, at least, felt like it was her own. The decision to violate that space had been necessary, but it lay in the back of her mind like a splinter. None of it could be helped. Everyone is always caught up in a chain of events that predate the present. The problems of Desala Serhart came from her mother, who probably was only working out problems inherited from her childhood, and so on. The waters had been stirred. Desala Serhart was a small fish, and she would rise to the surface. Time would tell whether or not she snapped at the bait. The report basically shows that Pelavon assets had been getting siphoned off for even longer than we first thought. Ferry pushed the omnipad away from her, her dark eyes hooded as she sat back in her chair. Honestly, every time we put out one fire, it seems like another one crops up. Got to hand it to Potak. We always come at this the hard way. I swear I never thought of forensic accountants, but it's made this shit pretty easy. Adam stared at the omnipad thoughtfully. I wasn't sure where Warwick was going with his second request, but he wasn't wrong. Pelavon's aunt, her sister, and now her niece have made defrauding their own family a going business for at least 30 years. Hell, by now Alea is just picking at the financial bones, but shitting on her aunt after she lost her husband was fucking vile. Normally we wouldn't even look at this, and right now we haven't had the time. Slip slid down in her chair and lay her cheek in her palm. They were all tired, and it was there in her voice. This is small stuff compared to what we usually take on. Handling it off to Potak was going to let us get out in the field, but I didn't expect anything back this fast. It's just that blatant. Classy scowled at the omnipad like an accusation. Alright, it looks like Pelavon's mothers weren't very good businesswomen, and they never thought to challenge it. Maybe it was depression after her husband was killed, but this? This is just naked greed over time. What bothers me the most is that Slip is right. Normally this wouldn't even make our list. Rust never sleeps. Adam rubbed his forehead. That's what my old man used to say. The rot never stops trying to creep in. You know we're hitting the worst of it, that we're taking out the worst of the trash, but the Ministry of Justice has to be seen at work too. So, now it can work on this. Are there any angles on Kelly we haven't picked over? Only Camordri. Classy sat back, her eyes taking on a 1,000-yard stare at the wall as she thought it over. Everything points at her and her people being behind that gun in Taja's hands. She never could have acquired it without leaving traces. Unfortunately, that just raises more alarms, but it still gives us nothing to go on besides suspicions and my gut feeling. I trust your gut feelings, particularly on Maud. Sal gave Classy a supportive smile as she paced around the room restlessly. Besides, any way you look at it, it wasn't a waste of time. Warwick wasn't just being a spiteful boyfriend and this panned out. Another win for our side, right? Now, can we finally get out in the field? Satora's missing and the visit to the academy was the only thing that we've done that hasn't been a complete public relations show. Fuck. Am I the only one that wants to do something simple and just shoot someone? Hands slowly raised around the room. I know this hasn't been easy, but it was necessary. This is the first time we've been on shill when the court was away. I've had to be seen, and I've needed you with me." Classy sighed and waved a hand at the offending report. "It bothers me too, but at least we've got something to show for it." "Yes, but in the meantime, the Interior has been resting to get a handle on the investigation. It's not that Minister Raylan hasn't been trying, but it's too much." Ferry shook her head, rubbing her eyes wearily. "Everyone from off-duty agents to local constables is crawling around that estate, offering help. But you know they're just trying to make a name for themselves. The odds are that they've obliterated more evidence than they found." "Maybe. Hell, even probably," Adam nodded. "I know you're doing your best, Classy, but I can hang on your arm while Ferry, Slip and Cell go to ground. Shit. The investigation has been hamstrung from the start. Whoever did this knows their shit. Maybe the Interior made a good start, but they're out of their depth. It looks like a pro pulled this off, and they didn't do us the favor of making any stupid mistakes." "I know." Classy looked back at her husband warily and gave him a grateful smile. "I still have to be seen for a while, and I know you want to be out there, but if you don't mind, we can probably let Cell go dark, then Ferry and Slip can follow a day or two later. Nothing too abrupt, so—" Omnipad started to clamour for attention. "Oh, fuck me," Adam breathed as he reached for the remote. The family looked up at the wall as the vid came on before flicking over to the news network, where a Shorvanti man was wiping away tears as he faced the camera. "Repeat our top story. Princess Satora, at only the age of 3, was found murdered yesterday afternoon within sight of the family estate from which she was kidnapped. With her skull fractured and a hole over the right ear, the kidnapped daughter of Duchess Trinia de Seren and Prince Laurel Tassu is confirmed to be dead. The small body lay in a shallow grave over 10 miles from the estate service road, where investigators previously believed she had been driven away from her home by her abductors. Dirt and leaves had been brushed over the scoop depression in which she was concealed from searchers. Two heavy blows had ended the life of the princess. One caused a fracture on the left side, extending from the top of the head to just behind the left ear. The other left a deep hole behind her ear. While teams began an intensive focus on the area, the princess has been removed to Prince Ardva Royal Hospital, where experts will begin searching for forensic evidence. The body seemed not to have been..." Adam flicked off the news, his hand clenching at the remote. "Classy, I'll hang on to your arm a couple more days, but no more waiting. We cut the others loose now. We're going to nail the bitches that did this, and the bitches behind it, however fucking deep we have to go." Disturbed since the murders left it. It was as if someone had held her tightly in their arms and deliberately hammered the head with the purpose of causing instant death, said Interior Agent Nah. Clips reached over with a shaky hand and turned the radio off. "Hey, I was listening to that," Dukta protested as she weaved through traffic. "Well, that's too bad," Clips stuttered out with a glare. I want more patches. Deeps, woman. I gave you enough to last for weeks. The fuck did you do with them all?" "I needed them. I'm stressed." "You're something, that's for damn sure," Duktra muttered. "Fine, whatever. I brought you some anyway, but you're gonna help me out with a job for payback. Those fuckers ain't free, you know. And Drepner's tits cut down. You're a mess. They make me feel good," Clips whined, shifting around in the passenger seat anxiously. "Of course they do. That's the fucking point," Duktra said, as she swerved wildly around a transport van and hit the accelerator to pass. "Look, there's some in the console. They're in the box marked Grinshaw Piss and... Hey! I said go easy." Clips poured open the compartment and had already slapped 2 on her doughy forearm where dark purple welts from other patches covered her pasty skin. After a moment she sighed and closed her eyes blissfully. Never interrupt me when I'm eating. You can't live on those damn things. Exercise some fucking self-control. Wouldn't have had to if you'd been here to supply me, Clip spit out, some of her inherent nastiness coming back to her as she stopped twitching. Limp now, she slowly oozed down in the seat with a blissful expression. Yeah, that's what every addict says. Duktra shook her head dismissively. Anyway, what the fuck has had you so stressed? I'm not an addict. Still need my photos. The show I was getting paid for, it got put on hold, maybe even cancelled. Some shit about a lawsuit. Despite her sudden languor, Clip balefully pried open one bloodshot eye. Some fucker named Klassen filed a class action for cultural appropriation, if you can believe that shit. The network is all bunged up over a violation of intellectual property rights. There's some shit going on. I heard he's barely even an adult. Damn meddling kids. Duktra sniffed sympathetically, but there wasn't much feeling behind it. That's some tough shit. Well, just lip me sideways, you're all heart, Clip said, querulously. Anyway, where have you been? Funeral. Well, kinda. Duktra grimaced. Fuck. Sorry I asked. Clips closed her eyes and slouched even lower. All that time? Yeah. Remember that magistrate out in Heber's province? The one that set all those Turoks loose? A friend of mine got killed during the roundup. Anyway, Parishi, she was a sham follower, so they cremated her afterward. Duktra grimaced, cutting off a sedan that was trying to pull in. I was supposed to bring the ashes. Clip's head lolled over, and she looked at Duktra blearily. The fuck you mean supposed to? Well, it was hours before the ceremony, so after I got the ashes, I stopped off for a couple of blue growls. You know, to remember her. Duktra's voice got a little churlish as she stepped on the speed. How's I supposed to know it was that kind of area? The fuck are you talking about? Clips groaned. Well, I left the urn in the seat. It was in the box marked mint and I... You have mint? Shit. What the hell are you doing putting somebody's ashes in a box full of mint? Do I look stupid? It was only marked mint. Inhuman too. How the deep was I supposed to think someone could read that crap? Duktra glowered, before jutting her tusks at the driver she just passed, and giving her the fingers. Anyway, it was just the box, but after I got out of the bar, some bitch had run off with it. Didn't take anything else, just the box with my buddy's ashes. You're shitting me. Nah. Lousy thing to happen after being gored by a stampeding Turoks, all thanks to some noble bitch with a loudspeaker. Duktra shook her head. Somebody in their bedroom is getting off on snorting her cremains right now, and they're gonna be very fucking disappointed. Fuck me, Clips breathed, as she reached into a bag of bagoon puffs. So where the deep are we going now? I need your help. Duktra thumbed over her shoulder at the equipment in the back of the van. Ever hear of owls? The fuck is an owls? She said while chewing noisily. Owls. Plural of owl. Duktra looked over at Clips before wishing she hadn't, and pursed her lips in exasperation. We need to clear out a nest of the fuckers. Remember the Hermine Patar films? Hermine Patar and the Immortal Stone and all that shit? I watched about half of the first one. The plot was marked by minimal suspense, alternating with cloying sentimentality. Clip swallowed as she dug around in the bag for another puff. That kind of crap is all part of the infantilization of adult culture. Seriously? You created Penga and you hate Patar? Duktra glowered at another driver for something to do. And when did you suddenly start talking like a dictionary? I'm a fucking videographer. Used to work with a network journalist before I went freelance, remember? You pick up on that shit. Anyway, I spitballed a story, and some writers developed it into Penga. I never said I watched that crap. Clips gnawed on another puff, waving the other half in the air like a baton. So what's the fucking story with these owls? They use them in the Patar videos. All of the sudden, rich cunts buy the little bitches as presents for the kiddies, before finding out they're predators. Soon as somebody got bit or scratched up by talons, Daddy and Mummies let the fuckers loose. Duktra shrugged. Now there's a nest on top of the statue of Empress Karodi over in Geraltori, and I need to get rid of them before they breed. What? On top of her head? Yeah, up in the crown. So you better shape the fuck up, 'cause you're holding the damn ladder. Somehow, Ness was heard about the Penga lawsuit. Mavisti Richet bit out. Lounging across the way, her co-wife, Tirola, looked up from where she was poring slowly over the spreadsheets. That's the deal for helping us get another interview with Warwick. She wants us to settle. They're only asking for 10 million credits. Tirola paused to stifle a burp, looking at her glass as she tossed aside her omnipad. We settle and it stays out of court. No one has to hear about all the other... You think I don't know that? Mavisti snapped, cutting Tirola off before she could ramble on. Given enough time, she might think she could cut the deal herself, and wouldn't that be a disaster? Over the years, Tirola had learned to stay in her lane, but there were still times she was tempted to stray. What chased me raw is it's just another way of making sure we need writers down the line. She's setting herself up for a job after we already agreed to it. It's not a bad idea. Tirola paused to cover her mouth as she rubbed a tusk thoughtfully. For her, I mean. Not really. I know. This means there's hope for her yet. I love our daughter. Mavisti chewed out every word as she glared down at the text on her omnipad. But right now, I don't like her very much. It's only one show. Not even the biggest we have, either. The ratings are still sky high on Dynasties, while everyone waits to find out who shot Jaya. We're making a mint off the marketing in between seasons. Penga's just a kids' show, and we already had to fight off that defamation thing from the Rakiri. It's popular, but not where the real money's at. Tirola shrugged before snaking her tongue out to tease the last drop from the bottom of her glass. It will make us a lot more immune to anyone else trying something in court. The more we get that human on video, the more human-friendly we look. We need to bury this so no one looks too closely at where it came from or wants us to actually produce a writer. I know. Mavisti threw her hands up in the air. It still pissed her off that she'd had to leave the alumni committees. It wasn't work, but it had been some harmless fun. Now, to have to bargain with her own daughter just to get an interview with a lowly human professor. Fine, there, she muttered, as she snatched up the omnipad, hammering at the text screen. She waved the pad at Tirola, who seemed more interested in the bottom of her glass, in case she'd missed anything. Ugh, of all the ungrateful... MR. Very well, daughter. If you secure another interview with Professor Warwick, we will settle the lawsuit out of court. I don't know why this matters to you, but this better be an exclusive. Nesfa read the text from her mother 3 times, then smiled. Okay, an exclusive might be hard. Maybe she could ask Mel and Lark to come with her to ask him. Warwick really had a soft spot, but that last time out, this could be a hard sell. Still, it's a start. She picked up her omnipad again and sent a text off to Liam Klassen. NR. Hi Liam, I've just had news. The plan is going ahead. I think, just stay ice. I don't want to hurt her feelings when she finds out about us. The text came back a few minutes later. LK. It's stay cool, and not a problem. Looking forward to it. Alone in her room, Belda flipped closed her homework and rubbed her eyes. It was good to be back at school and still a half hour before dinner with the others. The routine was a relief. Goddess, What a nightmare the whole vacation had been. But at least everyone knew now. General Order 24 was frightening. The idea of slipping up with Mel's secret around some of the other girls wasn't a problem now. Even Liam knew, even though they couldn't talk about it. Belda bit her lip and grinned. Reaching down over her nightshirt, she pulled back a stray lock of her raven hair that was draped over her top, teasing her nipple. Liam was going to be all hers. Well, just 2 more dates, she whispered. Then you're all mine. Her other hand started straying lower, down along her hip as she thought about him, but the nagging thoughts wouldn't go away, and she huffed once, rolling on her side. It wasn't the homework, though. How much couldn't they talk about now? What had this spoiled things? They still haven't decided on how things would go after... 3 dates between any noble house were enough for an understanding, and while her family was no great shakes in comparison. Goddess, I know a princess. Belda opened her eyes as her heart beat faster. What if someone else put a move on him? Anyone else could offer him more. And this place they were going to? What if he found out? Calm down, she whispered, reaching for her Omnipad. Too nervous to call, she pulled up the text app. Just seal the deal. Belle S. Hey, just taking a break from homework and I was wondering, would you like to get together on the second day of Shell? You know, our 5th date? She rolled over and took a deep breath, watching the screen. After a moment, the messenger showed him typing. LK. Hey, sounds good. But why not make it the first night? That way we can stay out later. I know you have class in the morning. Belda rolled on her back and thought about it. Goddess, why couldn't he just say yes? Belle S. I can't that night. The girls and I are going out with Mel to follow up on that thing. You know the thing, right? There was a pause. Goddess, why was there a pause? He was thinking, all right. Why was it turning into a long pause? LK. That's 4 days from now. Is it going to be safe? Safe? Oh, Empress, he was worried. Of course he was worried. Their last date they found a body. Why was he still not upset about finding a severed head? At least he was worried. She could put his mind at ease. Belle S. Oh yeah, completely. We're just going out on the town. LK. Well then, I want to come along. If it's going to be safe, then you can have me there. Besides, I want the others around for our date so we can just relax. Saves the best for last. Ah, stubborn, oversized Turox. Why can't you take a hint? I'm trying to keep you out of trouble. Belda flailed at the bedding, kicking the sheets. Oh, goddess, if I take him and Hope finds out? Just let the waters open up and take me now. No. LK. Everything alright? Wait, what? Belle S. Everything's fine. Fine. Just washing my hair. Everything's okay. I'm fine. How are you? LK. Look, I'm not kidding. If it's safe, where is it? Oh, sweet Nyosa, why are you doing this to me? I just want a date. Belda punched her mattress in frustration, trying to figure out what to say. Goddess, I can't give him the address. Hey, Liam, let's just meet at the brothel. Sure, that will go over great with your sister. Belle S. Look, you have to promise not to tell anyone. It's that stuff, right? LK. I get it. Not a word to anyone. He's going to keep asking me. He's not going to give up on this. No. No, 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 no. LK. Come on. I won't spoil things, I promise. Besides, I want your friends to like me too. Oh, that was a low blow. He was too tall for that. Goddess, she should answer the text? Belle S. No one, right? Like, not even your sister. LK. Got it. I totally promise, eh? So, where are we going on our 5th date? Belda's exhale started to sound like a whine as she typed, biting her lip. Belle S, there's a lot going on. Could you just meet me here? Please? So, we're doing this, one of the twins asked. It's the first night of Shell, her sister added. What if we're seen? Who would see us? Priz spoke up as she reached for the salt. We live here all year long. I mean, we're old enough, but it's not like I know anyone else on the planet. What are the odds? Actually, that's not the problem. How are you going to dress for this? Desi said slowly, eking out the words as she took in a lot of blank expressions. Come on. It's not like you can go in school uniforms. People will think you're working there. Melondi started, then frowned at her dinner. Most of the others were doing the same. Oh, well, what do you suggest? You have to look good, but not too good, you know? Like you're an adult and have money, not students. Like you spend some time out on the street, working like you belong there, she sighed. Hopefully we're just going to buy a few drinks and maybe some food, and you need to be able to swipe over some credits for tips. From what I heard, that will be expensive enough. Well, now I know why my mother's entertained a client there, Nestor groaned, rubbing her forehead as she turned purple. Clothes that are expensive, but not too expensive? Letzi looked around uncertainly. What, you mean off the rack? Seriously? Desi looked at them dumbstruck. You people have to have something. I have a business suit, Nestor offered, looking around the table uncertainly. It's just working clothes. I have a suit too, Jacksmy sat up. I have things. Some of you are my size. Lark nodded along. Nice, but not too nice. Perfect. Desi snapped her fingers. Right, that way we don't stick out in the crowd. So if anyone asks, we're all young executives out in the town entertaining a client or celebrating a promotion. Who are we going to pick? Belda had been turning bluer throughout dinner and hadn't said a word. She raised her hand gingerly. So, about the visit. What is it, Belle? You look like you're going to have a stroke, Pris grinned, curious at her friend's discomfort. It's not my fault, Belda blurted out. Mel, he tripped me into it. Honestly, Goddess, you can't tell anyone, please. I'm going to die. His sister is going to kill me. Belle? What are you talking about? Sephir frowned. What's going on? It's Liam. He thinks we're all just going out in the town. He knows it's about the stuff and things, but I told him it's safe, so he's meeting us here and coming along, and if his sister finds out, she's going to kill me. Belle, Nestor gawped. This is a... She lowered her voice to a hiss, looking around. This is a brothel. No BYOB. Belda looked at her hopelessly. Bring your own boy, Nestor said tersely, shaking her head. But he's really tall. And pink, Belda whispered hopefully. Maybe no one will know. So 11 women, taking a human male out on the town to a skin club. Desi buried her head in her hands. Maybe it will. I don't know, Melondi began. Oh no, this is perfect. I couldn't give you advice this good. Trust me, we're going to fit right in. Desi just shook her head ruefully without looking up. What about your, protection, Mel? Oh. Melondi looked around. No one was near. They're going to send 2. I guess there's probably some sort of selection process for the best people. Diani looked at Yala and bit her lip. The captains and the lieutenant had all dropped out to be fair to the enlisted girls. A few draws later, Jelk out of Pod 5 made the cut. Now, it was just down to her, Yala, and Vaco. Diani licked her lips and tugged at the straw, and kept tugging, "Woohoo!" she crowed, standing up and pumping her fists in the air before showing off the straw. "Yes, yes, yes! I got the long one! Lick it, bitches! In your faces!" "You can stop grinning now," Sergeant Yalla muttered, glancing over at Captain Biona. It was well into second shift, and Diani had been insufferable. Biona hadn't said a word, even if she looked a little pained now and then. "Are you fucking kidding me?" Diani grinned. "Language," Biona said under her breath. "Are you kidding me? This is going to be great. I mean, Jelk and I are going to be on watch. Definitely on watch. But goddess, I could never afford that place on my pay." She grinned again. "Going to have to stay in cover, have some drinks, watch the girls, of course, as they watch the show, and stuff." "Captain?" Yala groaned. "She's got every right to be excited." Biona sat back in her chair, watching Melondi on the primary screen. "You can tone it down a little bit, Di." "Yes, Captain." Diani's grin was still there, but she settled down to check the perimeter. "Hey, and we all get movie night tomorrow too." "Yeah, it was great of Alan to ask the princess." Yala perked up slightly. "She promised they'll turn the volume up, and she's going to ask Warwick for a real action film, something Marines will like." "Deebs, yeah!" Diani said enthusiastically. "I wonder what we'll get." "I don't know. The professor has some interesting tastes." Biona shifted in her chair, studying the princess's form. "Yeah, like a taste for two teachers. He must love bookish women," Diani snorted. "You know, good between the covers." Biona rubbed her forehead. It was going to be a long night. Up on the screen, Melondi, their princess, lunged again with her knife, stabbing just short of a spot on her mirror. "You know, I believe she means to learn how to use that."